Of course, international games kill the Packers players. What's up, guys? It is Jason from Jason Sports Clubs back with another video today. And I know I'm recording this a little bit later than I wanted to because, of course, the game was on Friday night. Ended really late. I ended up working Saturday. Had a lot of stuff to do on Saturday. That's why I'm giving you guys a video on this Sunday. A video is better than having no video, so I will say that. But of course, I watched this whole entire game. I watched from the very first moment of the kickoff all the way up into the Jordan Love injury, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But before I get into anything, I will say the Brazil field was just an atrocious field. Players were quite literally slipping the whole time. And I will say that the Jordan Love injury was not because of the field, just because you've seen the whole tackle of the Jalen Carter tackle. I think that's his name. I don't freaking remember. But the field was not because that's the reason why Jordan Love didn't get hurt. Like, it wasn't because of the field. I do want to reiterate that because a lot of people do think he got hurt because of the field. But I will say the field was in horrible condition. There's just players slipping the whole time. You saw Saquon slipping the whole time. Of course, the Packers wide receiver, everybody was slipping. Horrible, horrible field. Atmosphere was okay. Hopefully I don't have any Brazil fans watching because I don't think they don't really know the game of football, it looks like. I don't know. I mean, it's okay if they don't. It's just, I don't know. The whole Brazil experience was kind of weird, at least in my opinion. Now, let's break down the stats of each player's team or each, team player, like the quarterback, running back, etc. Starting off with the Packers, you can see it on the screen. Jordan Love had an okay game, 17 for 34, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, and now an interception. The interception was a pretty bad throw, at least, well, pretty bad read, at least in my opinion. And he had a couple of drop interceptions. So Jordan Love, unfortunately, just didn't have a good game. And now, of course, we all know he did get hurt at the end of the game, like I was just saying earlier. And it came out yesterday on Saturday saying that he has a sprained MCL, which is probably the best case scenario for the Green Bay Packers. He's only expected to miss between 4 to 6 weeks. And now the Packers' schedule in those time frames for the first 4 games is actually not hard. We play the Vikings, Titans, Colts. I can't remember the other team top of my head. But, of course, it's not any games, given W. But at least it's a lower tier NFL teams. And thankfully, it's not that bad for the Green Bay Packers the next few weeks. But like I said, the Packers, everyone was slipping on that field. Jordan Love, like I said, several times was slipping. He had a couple of bad throws. Not trying to make, excuses for because the reason why he had a bad game. He just didn't have a good game. It is what it is. Then you have Josh Jacobs with 16 for 84 yards, no touchdowns. Emmanuel Wilson had a nice little game with 4 carries on 46 yards. And the first half for Josh Jacobs was absolutely cheeks. He had like 10 carries for like 12 yards or something, 13. It was atrocious. But the second half, he completely balled out. He definitely changed the game in the second half. Jaden Reed had a phenomenal game with 4 receptions, 138 yards. He also had a 33-yard run for a touchdown. Jaden Reed was by far the player of the game for the Packers. Romeo had a nice little game, 4 receptions for 50 yards. Christian Watson had 13 yards for a touchdown. So the receivers weren't too bad. Definitely the biggest disappointment for the wide receivers was Dontavion Wicks. He had like 3 drops again because he was slipping, of course. This Packers offense definitely had a little bit issues in the first half. The red zone offense was definitely not good at all. We had 2 first quarter turnovers that were in the red zone, and we only capitalized for 6 points instead of 2 touchdowns. So that's definitely the thing that needed to address next week against the Titans against the Colts, is to address the red zone offense because it just wasn't good at all. And the Packers offensive line, bro, what was going on there? Like I said, the first half, the run game was completely non-existent, mostly due to the offensive line. And second, the penalties were just atrocious. Holding. That's definitely something that needed to be addressed definitely next week because the penalties, we had like 13 or 14 penalties. Accepted penalties, too. The Eagles had a lot of penalties as well, but man, it was just a sloppy game for the Packers overall. And now we're going to look at the Philadelphia Eagles stats real quick. Jalen Hurts had a pretty decent game. Well, I wouldn't say decent game. He had a 20 for 34, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, which is, The very first drive that Xavier McKinney picked was an absolute beautiful freaking pick by Xavier. He completely came out from the other side of the field, came across the field, and intercepted it. Nice, easy peasy. I will say this Packers defense was top notch in the first quarter. Then it's like after the first quarter, they just fell all apart, just like the same old Packers. And Saquon Barkley, you can see the stats, 24 for 109, 2 rushing touchdowns. And granted, the first quarter, this whole Eagles offense was non-existent in the first quarter. Everything got turned up a notch in the second, third, and the fourth quarter. Even Saquon had a receiving touchdown, which is a beautiful play, by the way. Beautiful throw. I think the Packers could have done absolutely nothing about that for the Eagles' first touchdown. Again, Saquon Barkley, we all know he's a great player. I said it in my previous videos. He just needed a better offensive line and more weapons on the team. And Saquon is just going to ball out. And it exactly happened like I knew was going to happen this game. Now, the one plus I will say about the Packers defense is that they actually did a really good job to containing Jalen Hurts. He only had like 1 run for 9 yards. Other than that, he had like 1 yard, -3 yards, 2 yards, -4 yards on a rush game. So I will say the Packers did a really good job containing him, and that's definitely one of the bigger things, I think, at least in my opinion, on the Packers defense. That's like the only benefit or the only plus, at least I see in my opinion. Now, A.J. Brown definitely had a big game, 5 receptions, 119 yards, which I think one of them was a 67-yard touchdown against, I was about to say Xavier, but it was Jair Alexander. He got completely toasted on that play. Oh, I wonder why. Because he slipped. Wow, what a shocker. I'm not trying to make excuses again because the field was for both players, but you can see in that clip that he had a slip a little bit, a little slip up. But Jair did also have an interception too in that red zone, which I thought was a really good pick. And it sucks because, this game, it was the 34 points the Packers defense allowed. And, of course, they had a couple of really, really, really bad moments, but a couple of really, really, really good moments. I mean, they overall had 3 turnovers, so that's really good. But it's like these big plays, man. I felt like the wide receivers were open a lot, in second, third, and fourth quarter. Thankfully, the Eagles even had a couple of drops themselves because, the stats could be definitely more inflated, and I feel like the Packers secondary, again, had a couple of picks, which is really, really nice. And the first quarter was amazing, but it's like second, third, fourth quarter, just non-existent defense. It is what it is, but again, we had some go moments, and we had some bad moments. So I just don't know how to really grade the Packers defense. And now, of course, our new kicker, he did miss a field goal, of course. I don't remember exactly how long. It was like a 40-yard field goal or something like that he did miss. But he did kick 3 field goals. Like I said, he missed 1, so he was 3 for 4. And he did make the 2 extra points. So technically, that's a lot better than our previous kicker from last year because, of course, he missed so many extra points. So granted, even if he did kick the field goal, we wouldn't have won. But it would have been a little bit different situation, at least that last drive of the game, where we didn't need a touchdown. We only needed the field goal, and we were pretty close in that field goal range. I'm not going to lie. So that field goal does, of course, suck, but it didn't cost a game or anything like that. So Braden, at least in my opinion, had a better game than normal for the Packers kickers. My breakout player for the game, the MVP of I guess you can say is definitely Jayden Reed because he had so many receiving yards. He had a rushing touchdown. He had a receiving touchdown. He was just all over the field. And at least the biggest disappointment, in my opinion, was Wicks just because he had a few drops. He only had 1 catch for no yards or something like that. So he just wasn't really effective in the game. It is what it is. And again, the field was slippery, but I'm not trying to make too much excuses because both teams were slipping just so much. And I'm thankful that Jordan Love is only out for a little bit because my first initial reaction for Jordan Love, and that, of course, the final play of the game, or the second final play of the game, I thought it was a torn ACL. I thought he was done for the rest of the year. I'm like, Jesus, man, the first game of the year, of course, this got to freaking happen. And remember that Aaron Rodgers had an injury back in London whenever we played the Giants over there, and he was out for a few weeks. And now, of course, the curse is just dragged on, and now Jordan Love is hurt, literally. So it is what it is, like I said. It was just really disappointing that Jordan Love got hurt. I mean, like I said, I'm not too mad that we lost because, again, I knew it was going to be a really good game. I knew it was going to be a really close game. The Eagles are a tough team, but just sucks that he's hurt, man. But that wraps up this video. Definitely leave your comments down below, your biggest reaction of the game. Let me know what you think of my opinions and all that. But your boy is out of here, and I'm out of here, like I said, deuces.